Hello there, little buddies. How are you today? Welcome to Reading with K. Do you know what is the book we have chosen today? Today, the storybook that we are going to read is The Blue Umbrella. This is a very nice and interesting storybook. And do you know who the author is? Author means who has written this book. Do you know who has written this book? Yes, the person who has written this book is Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond is an Indian author and he writes very nice stories for small children like you. So now shall we start reading the book? Now here I am going to read the book line by line. You will also read along with me. Shall we start? Okay, we'll start with chapter 1. Neelu, cried Binia. She scrambled barefoot over the rocks, ran over the short summer grass, up and over the brow of the hill, all the time calling, Neelu, Neelu. Neelu, blue, was the name of the blue-grey cow. The other cow, which was white, was called Gori, meaning fair one. They were fond of wandering off on their own down to the stream or into the pine forest, and sometimes they came back by themselves, and sometimes they stayed away, almost deliberately, it seemed to Binya. So here there is a little girl called Binya, and what she does, she takes a cow. She has got 2 cows. She takes a cow to the mountain, the pine forest, and the stream to graze, that is to eat grass. So the cows will graze all the grass throughout the day. So how many cows she has? She has 2 cows. One cow is called Neelu, that is because it is blue gray in color, and there's another cow which is very fair, that is it should be white, and that's why it's called Gori. Now what does this cow do? They actually wander off on their own without letting Binya know. They just go here and there and graze down the stream. And sometimes what they do, by the end of the day, they come back to home. But sometimes what they do, they stay away so that Binya should go and get them to come. Okay, so now let us continue. If the cows didn't come home at the right time, Binya would be sent to fetch them. Sometimes her brother Biju went with her, but these days he was busy preparing for his exams and didn't have time to help with the cows. So Binya's brother, his name is Biju. When the cows don't come home by themselves, they will have to send Binya back to get the cows. Now what sometimes if her brother Biju is there free, he will come along with her, but nowadays he is having school exams, so he will not be able to help her. Binya liked being on her own, and sometimes she allowed the cows to lead her into some distant valley, and then they would all be late coming home. The cows preferred having Binya with them because she let them wander. Biju pulled them by their tails if they went too far. So the cows always liked to stay with Binya because Binya likes to be on her own, and she will let them wander off into some distant place wherever they want, and then they will come home very late. But Biju will not let the cows go that far. He'll always pull their tail and bring them back. That's great. Binya belonged to the mountains, to this part of the Himalayas known as Garhwal. Dark forest and lonely hilltops held no terrors for her. It was only when she was in the market town, jostled by the crowd in the bazaar, that she felt rather nervous and lost. So Binya actually she loved the mountains, and her places were, it's a place in Himalayas, and the place is called Garhwal. It's a city, it's a village called Garhwal. So she loved to be part of the mountains and dark forests and even lonely hilltops. She had no fear being there. But where did she feel very scared? She used to feel scared when she is in the market town, where there are lots of crowd, lots of people are there. That is where she doesn't feel comfortable. So that's great. The town, 5 miles from the village, was also a pleasure resort for tourists from all over India. Binya was probably 10. She may have been 9 or even 11. She couldn't be sure because no one in the village kept birthdays. But her mother told her she'd be born during a winter when the snow had come up to the windows, and that was just over 10 years ago. Wasn't it? 2 years later, her father had died, but his passing had made no difference to their way of life. They had 3 tiny terraced fields on the side of the mountain, and they grew potatoes, onions, ginger, beans, mustard, and maize. Not enough to sell in the town, but enough to live on. So, Binya was about 10 years. That should be 10 years, or she could be 9, or she could be 11. No, her what is her correct age? That is because mother has not kept a count of the number of years. She only know that Binya was born when the winter was very high, when it was snowing. So what happens after Binya was born? After 2 years, her father died. And what happened? But father, even after father died, they had 3 nice terraced gardens, terraced fields, and on that in the field, they used what are the things they used to grow? They used to grow potatoes, onion, ginger, beans, mustard, and maize. So what they will do, out of whatever they are growing, they will use that to eat for their food. Like most mountain girls, Binya was quite sturdy, fair of skin, with pink cheeks and dark eyes, and had black hair tied in a pigtail. She wore pretty glass bangles on her wrist and a necklace of glass beads. From the necklace hung a leopard's claw. It was a lucky charm, and Binya always wore it. Biju had one too, only his was attached to a string. So Binya was born and brought up in the mountain, like most mountain people are very strong and sturdy. That is, they are very strong, and she looked very fair. She had pink cheeks, dark eyes, black hair, and she wore nice glass bangles, and she wore a necklace which is made of glass beads, and in that necklace she had a leopard's claw. So that is a lucky charm. That is a lucky necklace. Binya's full name was Binya Devi, and Biju's girl name was Vijay. But everyone called them Binya and Biju. Binya was 2 years younger than her brother. So her brother was 2 years older than her. Her name was Binya Devi, and her brother's name was Vijay. She had stopped calling for Neelu. She had heard the cow bells tinkling and knew the cows had gone far. Singing to herself, she walked over fallen pine needles into the forest glade on the spur of the hill. So what happened? She had been calling for the cow, no? So suddenly she heard the cows where they wear bells in the neck, no? So out of that sound, she hears a tinkling sound of the bells, and she walks towards the sound, and she goes over the pine forest to look for the cow. She heard voices, laughter, the clatter of plates and cups, and stepping through the trees, she came upon a party of picnickers. So Binya's village, that mountain place, is a picnic space also. That is, a lot of people come there for picnic. It's a tourist spot also. So she walked away to get the cow, but there she hears a lot of noises and laughter, and people are staying there for picnicking. They were holiday makers from the plains. The women were dressed in bright saris, the men wore light summer shirts, and the children had pretty new clothes. Binya, standing on the shadows between the trees, went unnoticed. So there were a lot of women who were wearing bright saris, and men were wearing nice shirts, and the children were pretty new clothes, and they were all playing. Binya was behind the shadows of the trees, and she was just watching all these people. And for some time she watched the picnickers, admiring their clothes, listening to their unfamiliar accents, and gazing rather hungrily at the sight of all their food. And then her gaze came to rest on a bright blue umbrella, a frilly thing for women, which lay open on the grass beside its owner. So what happens? She saw the children, she saw the clothes, she was listening to the music, and her eyes fell on all the food that people were having there. And at last, her sight went to, she moved her view to a bright blue umbrella, which is a frilly one that women use, and it was open and it was lying near a woman. Now Binya had seen umbrellas before, and her mother had a big black umbrella which nobody used anymore because the field rats had eaten holes in it. But this was the first time Binya had seen such a small, dainty, colorful umbrella, and she fell in love with it. The umbrella was like a flower, a great blue flower that had sprung upon the dry brown hillside. So, Binya, before this, she had seen so many umbrellas. Most umbrellas are in black in color. So, the umbrella that is in her home, that her mother has, is a big one which is black, and that too, all the rats have eaten holes in it, and they will never be able to use it. So, this umbrella was very different. It was small, it was beautiful, it was colorful. She was like, as soon as she saw that, she fell in love with it. And it was like that, it looked like a great blue flower in the hilly side. She moved forward a few paces so that she could see the umbrella better. As she came out of the shadows into the sunlight, the picnickers saw her. "Hello, look who is here!" exclaimed the older of the two women. "A little village girl. Isn't she pretty?" remarked the other. But how torn and dirty her clothes are. It did not seem to bother them that Binya could hear and understand everything they said about her. So there were two. She, out of the interest for the umbrella, she came out of the shadows and came into the view of the picnickers. What happens? The picnickers, two old women, see her, and they say, "Hello, who is there? This is a beautiful little village girl." They are talking, and then the other picnicker woman is telling, "See, look at her dress. Her dress is torn and dirty." But they don't mind what if Binya is able to understand or not. But they are talking about Binya before her. "They are very poor in the hills," said one of the men. "Then let's give her something to eat." And the older woman beckoned to Binya to come closer. So one man said that the people who are living in the hill are very poor, so they cannot afford to get good clothes. So they wear dirty and torn clothes. And what happens? Then one older woman is telling, "We'll give her something to eat." So she asked Binya to come near. Hesitantly, nervously, Binya approached the group. Normally she would have turned and fled, but the attraction was the pretty blue umbrella. It had cast a spell over her, drawing her forward almost against her will. So usually what happens? Whenever she is scared, she will turn away and run away. But here what happens? There's this umbrella. Because of the umbrella, though she is nervous and hesitant, still she may slowly walks forward near to them. "What's that on her neck?" asked a younger woman. "A necklace of sorts. It's a pendant. See, there's a claw hanging from it." "It's a tiger's claw," said the man beside her. He had never seen a tiger's claw. "A lucky charm. These people wear them to keep away evil spirits." He looked to Binya for confirmation, but Binya said nothing. So with Binya there, they are all talking. They are telling what is in her neck. So they are talking about the necklace. And one man is telling that it is a tiger's claw. It is not a tiger's claw. We already know that it's a leopard's claw. So, but they asked Binya, but she doesn't talk. Why is she there? She is there only for the sake of the little blue umbrella. Oh, I want one too, said the woman, who was obviously his wife. You can't get them in shops. Buy hers then. Give her 2 or 3 rupees. She's sure to need the money. The man, looking slightly embarrassed but anxious to please his young wife, produced a 2 rupee note and offered it to Binya, indicating that he wanted the pendant in exchange. Binya put her hand to the necklace, half afraid that the excited woman would snatch it away from her. Solemnly, she shook her head. The man then showed her a 5 rupee note, but again Binya shook her head. So what happens? The younger woman and her husband, both of them, they want the necklace from Binya somehow. But Binya, and he gave a 2 rupee note to Binya to get that. But she doesn't want to sell it. Then he took a 5 rupee note and gave her. Then still Binya shook her head, saying that she did not want the money. How silly she is, exclaimed the young woman. It may not be hers to sell, said the man, but I'll try again. How much do you want? What can we give you? And he waved a hand towards the picnic things scattered about on the grass. So he somehow wants to get the necklace for the lady. So he's telling, what do you want? Any of the things that you need from all the things that is lying there, anything you require, he's asking. Without any hesitation, Binya pointed to the umbrella. So Binya, maybe she got a chance to get the umbrella. So she's telling, she slowly pointed to the umbrella. My umbrella, exclaimed the young woman. She wants my umbrella. What cheek! Well, you want her pendant, don't you? That's different, is it? So they are all, both of them are arguing. So she's asking, why, how bad is it that this girl is asking for my umbrella? Then the husband is telling, you want her pendant, no? So it is different. So it is not different, it is the same. The man and his wife are beginning to quarrel with each other. I'll ask her to go away, said the older woman. We are making such fools of ourselves. But I want the pendant, cried other petulantly. And then, on an impulse, she picked up the umbrella and held it out to the Binya. Here, take the umbrella. So what happens? The younger woman is irritated, but she somehow wants the necklace. So she began to quarrel with her husband. And suddenly the older man says, if you guys are shouting and quarreling, we'll send her away. But then the young woman, she doesn't want to let go of the necklace. So she somehow picks the umbrella and gives it to Binya. Binya removed her necklace and held it out to the young woman, who immediately placed it around her own neck. Then Binya took the umbrella and held it up. It did not look so small in her hands. In fact, it was just the right size. So finally, Binya got the umbrella for herself. She took the umbrella and opened it and saw that it is just the right size for her. She had forgotten about the picnickers who were busy examining the pendant. She turned and the blue umbrella this way and that. She looked through the bright blue silk at the pulsating sun, and then, still keeping it open, turned and disappeared into the forest glade. So finally, Binya has got what she wanted. She took the umbrella, she opened it. It is made of bright blue silk, and she held it towards the sun, and it was shining. And she kept it open, and she disappeared into the forest. This is chapter 2. Binya seldom closed the blue umbrella. Even when she had it in the house, she felt it lying open in a corner of the room. Sometimes Biju snapped it shut, complaining that it got in the way. She would open it again a little later. It wasn't beautiful when it was closed. So she brought the umbrella home, and she never closed the umbrella. She always left it open in the corner of her room. And Biju sometimes, even though Biju closed it sometimes, she opened it again because it was, when it is closed, it is not very beautiful. Whenever Binya went out, whether it was to graze the cows or fetch water from the spring or carry milk to the little tea shop in the Terry Road, she took the umbrella with her. That patch of sky blue silk could always be seen on the hillside. So what happens? Binya carries, she fell in love with the beautiful umbrella and she always takes it wherever she goes. Old Ram Bharosa, that is, his name is Ram the Trustworthy, kept the tea shop on the Terry Road. It was a dusty and metalled road. One day the Terry bus stopped near his shop. Once a day the Terry bus stopped near his shop and passengers got down to sip hot tea or drink a glass of curds. So there is another person, second character. His name is Ram Bharosa. He has a tea shop in the Terry Road. So all the buses that go to Terry, the place called Terry, all the buses stopped there and passengers got down to sip hot tea or drink curd. He kept a few bottles of Coca-Cola too, but as there was no ice, the bottles got hot in the sun and so were seldom opened. So Coca-Cola was also there, but there was no refrigerator, so it was not good. So no one used those drinks. He also kept sweets and toffees, and when Binya or Biju had a few coins to spare, he would spend them at the shop. It was only a mile from the village. So there was a shop, and this had sweets also, there were chocolates, everything was there. So whenever even Binya and Biju, when they have extra coins, they just go and get something from the shop to eat. Ram Bharosa was astonished to see Binya's blue umbrella. "What have you there, Binya?" he asked. Binya gave the umbrella a twirl and smiled at Ram Bharosa. She was always ready with a smile and would willingly have lent it to anyone who was feeling unhappy. So Binya was happy with the umbrella. Ram Bharosa saw the umbrella and he is asking, "What is that you have got?" Binya gave her, she is twirling her umbrella before him and she is really happy to share it with anyone who wants to use the umbrella. "That's a lady's umbrella," said Ram Bharosa. "That's only for men sahibs. Mem sahibs. Where do you get it? Where did you get it?" "Someone gave it to me for my necklace." "You exchange it for your lucky claw," Binya nodded. "But what do you need it for? The sun isn't hot enough and it isn't meant for the rain. It is just a pretty thing for rich ladies to play with." So he is starting to like the umbrella. So he is telling, "Where did you get that umbrella?" She is asking. Then what happens? Binya tells someone, I gave my necklace and I bought the umbrella. He's telling, "Oh, you have exchanged your lucky claw for that umbrella?" he asked, and he's telling, "This is you don't need that umbrella actually, because the sun is not hot enough, because it's a hill, and here there is you can't use it in the rain because it is very pretty, and you can't use it in a rainy season." Binya nodded and smiled again. Ram Bharosa was quite right. It was just a beautiful plaything, and that was exactly why she had fallen in love with it. So that was the reason she loved the umbrella. "I have an idea," said the shopkeeper. "It's no use to you, that umbrella. Why not sell it to me? I'll give you 5 rupees for it." "It's worth 15, said Binya. "Well, then I'll give you 10. Binya laughed and shook her head. 12 rupees, said Ram Bharosa, but without much hope. Binya placed a 5 paise coin on the counter. "I came for a toffee," she said. Ram Bharosa pulled at his jaw-drooping whiskers, gave Binya a wry look, and placed a toffee in the palm of her hand. So what happens is, though he is ready to offer 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 12 rupees, Binya does not want to keep the umbrella. He understood that, and she comes and asks for a toffee, and he gives a toffee. He watched Binya as she walked away along the dusty road. The blue umbrella held him fascinated, and he stared after it until it was out of sight. So what happens? Rambagas also started loving that umbrella. So he was looking at the umbrella until it disappeared from his sight. The villagers use this road to go to the market town. Some use a bus, a few rode on mules, and most people walked. Today, everyone on the road turned their heads to stare at the girl with the bright blue umbrella. Binya sat down in the shade of a pine tree. The umbrella, still open, lay beside her. She cradled her head in her arms, and presently she dozed off. It was that kind of day, sleepily warm and summery. So she took the umbrella. She sat down in the shade of a tree, and she opened the umbrella and she let it rest there, and she fell asleep. And while she slept, a wind sprang up and came quietly, swishing gently through the trees, humming softly. Then it was joined by other random gusts, bustling over the tops of the mountain. The trees shook their heads and came to life. The wind fanned Binya's cheeky. The umbrella stood on the grass. So what happens as soon as she's asleep? What happens? There are so many small gusts of winds hitting on the umbrella. And what happens? The umbrella started moving. The wind grew stronger, picking up dead leaves and sending them spinning and swirling through the air. It got into the umbrella and began to drag it over the grass. Suddenly it lifted the umbrella and carried it about 6 feet from the sleeping girl. The sound woke Binya. So what happens? The wind has started to get stronger. It started pulling the umbrella, and the umbrella moved slowly from the sleeping girl. Suddenly Binya wakes up. She was on her feet immediately, and then she was sleeping down the steep slope. But just as she was within reach of the umbrella, the wind picked it up again and carried it further downhill. Binya set off in pursuit. The wind was in a wicked, playful mood. It would leave the umbrella alone for a few moments, but as soon as Binya came near, it would pick up the umbrella again and send it bouncing, floating, dancing away from her. So, Binya woke up as soon as the umbrella started flying. So, she started chasing it, but the wind was playful that day. So, what it did? It would wait for her to come near. As soon as she came near, it would pick up the umbrella and send it a little more away from her. She was literally chasing the umbrella. The hill grew steeper. Binya knew that after 20 yards, it would fall away in a precipice. She ran faster, and the wind ran with her, ahead of her, and the blue umbrella stayed up with the wind. A fresh gust picked it up and carried it to the very edge of the cliff. There it balanced it for a few seconds before toppling over out of sight. So Binya has been chasing the umbrella, which she was not able to reach. So as the hill was getting steeper, that is, she is going up the hill, and the wind is taking away the umbrella higher and higher. And as soon as there was a cliff, that is the end of the mountain, where the wind was holding the umbrella for quite a few seconds. Where she was running faster, but yet before she could catch it, it fell over the cliff down the mountain. Binya ran to the edge of the cliff. Going down on her hands and knees, she peeked down the cliff face. About 100 feet below, a small stream rushed between great boulders. Hardly anything grew on the cliff face, just a few stunted bushes, and halfway down, a wild cherry tree growing crookedly out of the rocks and hanging across the chasm. The umbrella had stuck in the cherry tree. So what happens? The umbrella actually entirely did not fall down in the stream. It was stuck in a cherry tree, wild cherry tree, which was growing on the middle of the somewhere middle of the about 100 feet below the middle of the mountain, and the umbrella was stuck in there in the bushes of the branches of the cherry tree. Binya didn't hesitate. She may have been timid with strangers, but she was at home on a hillside. She stuck her bare leg over the edge of the cliff and began climbing down. She kept her face to the hillside, feeling her way with her feet, only changing her handhold when she knew her feet were secure. Sometimes she held on to the thorny bilberry bushes, but she did not trust the other plants, which came away very easily. So the cliff face did not have much of any hold for Binya to catch on to, but still she climbed down to the cherry tree. She was holding on to the bilberry bushes, which were little strong for a strong hold for her, but she did not trust other plants, because the other plants would come along with her hand as soon as she holds them. So she was like trying little by little. She was securing her feet in one place. She was putting her hand in a safe place, and slowly she moved down to the umbrella. Loose stones rattled down the cliff. Once on the way, the stones did not stop until they reached the bottom of the hill, and they took other stones with them, so that there was soon a cascade of stones, and Binya had to be very careful not to start a landslide. So what happens when someone steps on a stone, the stones that are loose on the face of the cliff, they start to roll down. Once they roll down, they pull along with them other small stones, and many stones fall down to the stream. So if Binya is not careful, or if she is pulling down a big stone, then it will cause a big landslide. Landslide is the falling of a huge amount of mud from the side of a mountain on the ground. As agile as a mountain goat, she did not take more than 5 minutes to reach the crooked cherry tree. But the most difficult task remained. She had to crawl along the trunk of the tree, which stood out at right angles from the cliff. Only by doing this she could reach the trapped umbrella. So the cherry tree, it did not actually stand upright. It was in a horizontal angle. So it was at right angles. So it grew at the side of the cliff, and it was straight right angle to the cliff. So what happens? She has to crawl along the trunk of the tree to reach the umbrella. So it was the most dreadly task, and she was really thinking about it. She has to be more careful.